Mr. Lansky, how's your health? How you feeling?
How do I look to you?
You look pretty good. How do you feel?
Well, at present, good. What tomorrow bring, I don't know.
He once managed billions of dollars in mob money, yet he died with just a few $100,000 to his name. The FBI could never prove how he hid the rest. Meyer Lansky, the mob's accountant, quietly built a criminal empire that stretched from New York to Havana without ever pulling a trigger. This video unpacks the secretive life of one of the most powerful and elusive figures in organized crime. Stay with us to uncover how Lansky shaped the mafia's financial foundation, outwitted law enforcement for decades, and why, even in death, his legend still haunts the underworld. Meyer Lansky was born Meyer Lansky in 1902 in Grodno, a city then part of the Russian Empire, now located in Belarus. His early life was marked by instability and anti-Semitic violence, which drove his family to flee to the United States in 1911. When immigration officials asked his parents for his birth date and they couldn't recall it, U.S. authorities arbitrarily assigned him the patriotic date of July 4th. The family settled in the gritty Lower East Side of Manhattan, where the streets were teeming with poverty and petty crime. Amid these harsh surroundings, young Meyer showed a rare talent for numbers and calculation. Though he never advanced beyond the 8th grade, his sharp mind and steady demeanor earned him the respect of his peers and future partners in crime. Lansky's early days in New York's underworld were shaped by two friendships, one with Benjamin Bugsy Siegel and the other with Charles Lucky Luciano. Alongside Siegel, Lansky formed what became known as the Bugs and Meyer Mob, a gang-for-hire outfit that specialized in gambling, extortion, and contract killings. This group would later inspire the notorious Murder, Inc. While Siegel was flashy and quick-tempered, Lansky was the cool-headed strategist. He didn't relish violence, but he understood its utility. As prohibition took hold, Lansky seized the opportunity to become a major figure in bootlegging, establishing smuggling operations that supplied illegal liquor across New York. His connection to Luciano would prove even more consequential. Lansky is believed to have advised Luciano to orchestrate the 1931 assassination of Joe the Boss Masseria, an act that allowed Luciano to consolidate control over New York's criminal families and restructure the mafia into a modern enterprise. With Luciano at the helm and Lansky as his trusted advisor, the American underworld entered a new era. Alongside figures like Johnny Torrio and Frank Costello, Lansky helped establish the National Crime Syndicate, an organized network that linked Italian, Jewish, and Irish mobsters across the country. No longer confined to turf wars and disorganized rackets, the syndicate became a sprawling, corporate-style criminal operation. Lansky was its treasurer, banker, and in many ways, its brain. He developed systems to launder money through international banks, particularly in Switzerland. He diversified operations by investing in legitimate businesses, meatpacking plants, golf courses, and even hotels, all of which masked the massive flow of illegal profits. It was around this time that Lansky allegedly made his most famous remark, that the mafia was bigger than U.S. Steel. As Prohibition ended, Lansky pivoted his focus to gambling. He believed it could become the mob's most stable and lucrative venture. He began developing casinos in Florida and New Orleans, and nurtured relationships with corrupt officials to protect his growing empire. In Cuba, he found a golden opportunity. Under the dictatorship of Fulgencio Batista, Lansky arranged bribes and payouts that gave him free rein to build and operate casinos in Havana. The most luxurious of these, the Havana Riviera, stood as a symbol of mafia opulence, part glamour, part shadow. In Las Vegas, Lansky invested heavily and tasked Siegel with developing the Flamingo Hotel. But Siegel's mismanagement and suspected embezzlement of mob funds led to conflict. The project's costs ballooned from $1.2 million to $6 million. In 1947, Siegel was shot dead in Beverly Hills, a hit many believe Lansky approved. Although he never publicly admitted it, Lansky once said, "If it had been up to me, Benny would still be alive." A rare glimpse of regret or clever deflection. After Siegel's death, Lansky's associates quickly took over the Flamingo. The casino turned into a reliable source of revenue for years to come. During World War II, Lansky briefly stepped into a more patriotic role. The Office of Strategic Services, the precursor to the CIA, sought help in curbing Nazi sabotage at the New York docks. Lansky, through his control of longshoremen unions and street enforcers, ensured that the waterfront remained secure. This collaboration highlighted his influence even outside the mob world. After the war, Lansky expanded his reach. When Fidel Castro took power in 1959 and nationalized foreign holdings, Lansky lost his Cuban casinos overnight. But he adapted. He turned his sights to the Bahamas, where he soon developed new casino operations in Nassau and Freeport. He even branched out into London, proving that his empire had no borders. By the late 1960s, Lansky's age and legal troubles were catching up to him. The U.S. government estimated his total holdings at $300 million, though they could never fully trace it. In 1970, facing indictment for tax evasion, Lansky fled to Israel, invoking the law of return that grants citizenship to Jews worldwide. At first, it seemed he might escape prosecution, but Israeli authorities under U.S. pressure denied him permanent residence due to his criminal record. After 2 years of legal battles, Lansky was deported back to the United States. Upon arrival in Miami, he was immediately arrested, but despite multiple charges, including contempt of court and tax evasion, he was never successfully convicted. A combination of skillful lawyering, lack of hard evidence, and Lansky's declining health allowed him to avoid prison once again. Lansky was married twice. His first marriage to Anna Citron produced 3 children, but ended in divorce in 1947. In 1948, he married Thelma Schwartz, with whom he remained until his death. His youngest daughter, Sandra Lansky, later published a memoir titled Daughter of the King, growing up in gangland, shedding light on a double life her father led as both a family man and a criminal mastermind. Lansky was a man of contradictions, a brutal racketeer with a calm demeanor, a criminal who admired order, a billionaire who claimed to die broke. In the final years of his life, he lived quietly in Miami Beach, battling lung cancer. On January 15, 1983, he passed away at age 80. He was buried in an Orthodox Jewish ceremony, far removed from the violence and spectacle that had defined much of his career. Even in death, Meyer Lansky remains an enigma. Government agencies were convinced he had hidden vast sums of money in secret bank accounts, likely in Switzerland. Yet they were never able to recover the money. To this day, no one knows exactly how much Lansky left behind, or where it went. His name lives on in both myth and history. The fictional character Hyman Roth in The Godfather Part 2, who famously says, "We're bigger than U.S. Steel," was based on Lansky. But real life offered more intrigue than fiction ever could. Lansky built a criminal infrastructure that outlasted him, shaped modern organized crime, and evaded justice to the end. He was the shadow behind the throne, the man who proved you don't need a gun to rule an empire, just a ledger, a plan, and the nerve to use both.